plenty good for more than 5 minutes. I want to thank Jim Raines. Raines, Jimmy, you get an A in my book. Okay? Denny, I want to thank you. Marla, for all that you do. I appreciate so many things that you do that I don't know how to do. And I'm too busy doing the teaching things to do them anyway, so I appreciate that. Bob and Bill and Alex, I want to thank you. It's really important as a coach and players to have administration there. I'm very fortunate. My wife is a teacher and administrator. She's been an athletic director. She's now a principal. And I'm really fortunate that she shows up to my games when she has a school to run of her own. So I want to thank my wife and my children. I do that every year, by the way. All right. Secondly, I want to recognize some people that have been really helpful to me. Dave Bragg, would you stand up, please? Thank you. Nancy Heidrich, will you stand up? Thank you for what you do. And Lizette, will you stand up? Thank you. I want to tell you something about Dave Bragg. Dave Bragg's son plays for us. We've known each other for a couple of years. We recruited him out of high school, and he ended up going to Washington State, and when he decided to leave, he came to Clark, and I'm very happy about that. Dave owns a business that does advertising, and it's called The Nickel. Is it The Nickel? And I was saying to him, he walked in my office one day and he said, "Coach, how can I help?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "How can I help?" I said, "We'd love to have a program." He said, "We'll do that." And he took the program on, and if you see it, next year we're going to expand it and have the girls in the program. And you just don't even know how much work that was. He redesigned the logo for us. He did all these things, and every time he would do something, he'd send, he'd go, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I don't know this stuff." He said, "You tell me what you like, what you don't like, we'll change it." And I'm going to tell you, the hours that you did, and then I said, "How much do I owe you?" And when you showed me what it was, I know you donated a lot of time. So thank you very much. I want to recognize my team. We had a good year. I think we went 17-10 with 10 freshmen. We only had 2 guys back. I'm just going to ask you to stand up because I don't want to run over my time. Derek Owens from Arizona. Austin Braggs from Mark Morris. Remain standing, please. Lucas Swanson from Mountain View. Armand is working tonight. Armand Kalan from Fort Vancouver. Blake Bowen from Skyview. He's got a family function this weekend. Durham Rossert from Skyview. There we go. Jared Hamler from Georgia. John Craig is working. He's from Hawaii. Stephon Hopkins is working as well. He's working at the basketball game down there from Georgia. Max Snodderly from Franklin. Rashad Rollins from Kelso. And Jaquez Paramon from Georgia. And last but not least, Audie Potts from Grant over in Portland. We played Dan Anderson. I'm sorry. I want to talk about you in a minute, Dan. Stand up, would you please? Dan Anderson. You know, it's kind of interesting. I invariably mess it up somehow. We had a really good year. We had 10 freshmen, and we made some mistakes down the stretch when you really don't need to make mistakes, but we were freshmen, and I understood that. We played the eventual NWAC champion and beat them by 15 early in the year. We lost to the team that lost to them in the championship on a last-second shot, and we beat the number 2 ranked team, or we lost to the number 2 ranked team and held them 26 points under their average, while we missed 12 layups at the first round of the NWAC tournament. We went on to play 2 more games after that. We have most of these guys back. We've had a very good recruiting year, and this is probably the best group. This is my second time around as the basketball coach here. This is the best group I've ever had, and I mean, they're close, they care, they want to get better. They're doing all the things you ask them to do, and I've never had as many Division I and Division II schools interested in our kids this next year, so I'm very excited about that. We had 1 NWAC All-Star, Armand Kalan, who's had 7 schools recruit him. He's down to 2. We're kind of waiting to see which one he picks. I think it comes down to the scholarship package. And then we have 5 awards that we give out every year, and I don't vote on them, the players do, and so I'm going to go through those right now. And before I do, though, I want to talk about a couple of guys. I want you to know that Durham Rosser never played basketball, ever. He never played a team sport at all. And he came in 2 years ago, and we watched him run up and down the floor, and I said, you could redshirt. And so he redshirted last year, and he played this year. And I have an exit interview with every player. And I've sat down and talked to each player and what I think they need to do. And Durham has really, really worked hard at learning how to play this game in a team concept. He can run up and down the floor and shoot baskets, but when you put 5-on-5, it changes everything. And so I'm really pleased that he's come along as far as he has. The other guy I want to talk about is Danny Anderson. 2 years ago, Danny tried out, and he didn't make the squad. And that's really hard for me to tell really good people that there's just not a spot for you. But the kind of kid he is, he just sat there and he squared up his shoulders and he cranked his neck around and he said, what do I have to do? And I said, you have to get stronger, you have to work on your handles, you have to become more consistent with your speed laterally. And he just looked me right in the eye and he said, okay, then that's what I'll do. And he came back, and I have to tell you, he was the glue that came off the bench and did some great, great things for us this year. And had he not gotten a concussion in the first round of the tournament, I think we would have won that basketball game, because that's the kind of impact he had on our team. So, with that being said, most improved this year, Durham Rosser. I'm going to announce them. The awards, our awards are being engraved, and the engraver got sick. So when I went to pick them up on Friday, she said, I'm really sorry, we don't have them. I said, that's all right, they don't read them anyways. To tell you a little bit about Derek, Derek emails me. I vowed to answer every email that I ever get for every player that's interested. Derek has had open heart surgery, and he's come back from open heart surgery. He was a state champion. He was a starting point guard on a state championship team down in Arizona. And when he emailed me, I didn't know anything about him, but I called two friends that I work Snow Valley Basketball School with every year. First thing out of the mouth of one of the guys, he's actually in the league where Derek played, and he said, he's your kind of guy. And he is. He's tough, he's smart, he's a great student, and he won most inspirational this year, Derek. MVP is kind of interesting because we have a whole bunch of voting that's really pretty even. We had a bunch of guys who really stepped up. And he started out at the beginning of the year. He hadn't played in a year. He started out at the beginning of the year, and he would make a mistake, and he'd turn and look at me on the bench, and I'd go, what are you looking at me for? Just keep playing. And by the end of the year, he rolled his ankle in a really big game up in Lower Columbia and couldn't play for 2 weeks, and then came back and played in the tournament. He's got a lot of people interested in him. Everybody thought he would leave. I thought he was going to leave. And he said, no, Coach, I'm coming back. We're having too much fun. Austin Braggs, MVP. We give the Duke Wallenborn Award. Those of you that have been in the community a long time, you remember Duke. Duke was he was the Mr. Washington Basketball of the Year. And he played here. He was at Washington State, wasn't happy, was coming to open gyms, and we were talking one day, and he said, you know, Division I basketball is like business, man. I thought basketball was supposed to be fun. Make a long story short, he came back to Clark and was a great player for us here. I really enjoyed working with Duke. He went on to Western Washington University, and 3 games before the end of his senior year, he died because of a heart condition. And so we give the award every year to the guy who is the most team-oriented. Duke could have had 35 every night, and he didn't. He would give up the ball, and he would do whatever had to be done. And one time, a couple of times, he said, Coach, you got to take me out of the starting lineup. And I said, why? And he said, because this guy and that guy, they're working really hard, Coach. You need to bench me and let him come in because he just deserves that start. And so this year's Duke Wallenborn Award goes to Armand Kalan. The last award means something to us. It probably doesn't mean anything to anybody else. Those of you that have heard me prattle on, you've probably heard me talk about this. It's an old lunch bucket. It's one of the black Victory buckets, if you remember those. Your grandpa probably had one. Had the thermos on one side, all steel, white enamel on the inside. My grandfather, I was raised by my grandfather, and he worked until he was 78 years old. And he would go to work every morning. He was a truck driver. He'd go to work every morning with that lunch bucket. And he showed me what it was like to work, and he was a hard worker. And so when I came back this time, we went and I got that lunch bucket, and we give it out every week. We give it as the lunch bucket award to the guy who works the hardest. And it's got a whole bunch of things in it. It's got socks and cookies and beef jerky and gum, and it all has a lot of symbolic meaning. Of course, it doesn't mean anything to anybody but us. But the guy who won this, hands down, is a kid that I have to be honest, I had my foot in his chest a whole lot this year. And I said to him a couple of times, I said, am I getting to you? No, sir. No, coach. I know you're just trying to make me better. And that's pretty big to get that from a 4A player of the year, because he wants to get better, and he's remarkably better than a year ago. And if you watch the sprints, we took him out of the starting lineup for the while. He said, whatever you got to do, coach, whatever makes the team better. He worked his way back into the starting lineup, and he's really going to be a great player next year. Lucas Swanson, Mountain View. You know, I have to tell you, I spend a lot of time with my team, and I care about each and every one of them. And I care about my team at home, too. Mackenzie and Maggie and my wife, Cindy. And I ask them every year, should I keep doing this? And Maggie said to me recently, she said, Daddy, of course you have to keep doing this. And I said, why? And she said, because it makes you happy. I said, well, it doesn't give us any money. And she said, well, Mommy makes the money, so it's okay. I want to thank my team, and I want to thank all you sponsors, and I hope you come out next year. Thank you very much.